Hi, welcome to Scruffy Politics. This is Stimpy over here in Detroit, Steve over in the far suburbs of Chicago, and it is the anniversary of George Floyd's murder, so they say. And apparently they're planning celebrations all over the place, including Chicago. I'm not sure who's putting these celebrations together. I don't know if it's BLM isn't BLM a defunct organization now because they basically ripped everybody off and stole that money? And I know there was the lady that went out and bought a bunch of homes with the money. So who's doing this?
Yeah, there was, it wasn't, with that organization, it wasn't, from the perspective I got from it, it was always blame the cops, and instead of looking more directly into the problem on violence or on black violence, it didn't really do anything for people, for the black community who really wanted the problem solved, as in inner city crime and such. And it was an organization, I thought, that wasn't really well set up. But to celebrate George Floyd is, I don't know, you're just normalizing the fact that you can just blame cops for anything. And are 100% of cops out there perfect? No. But George Floyd died because of George Floyd. He didn't die because of anyone else. He chose to escalate that. The cops gave him time. The cops asked him if he needed anything. But he chose to escalate it. And it wasn't the first time he escalated on a stop by a cop, or when a cop stopped him for something. So this goes to show that, instead of blaming the cops all the time, we need to hold our own accountability. So don't know what.
Yeah, I was just trying to
that.
look up some of the information here online to see what they say. So apparently there is a George Floyd Memorial Foundation, and it looks like it's run by his family.
It's not like George Floyd is a Rosa Parks or Martin Luther King. If it's Rosa Parks or Martin Luther King, I understand.
I just don't understand.
They were heroes to the black
left.
community, but not George Floyd.
The left picks the worst people to try to make a hero out of. There are black people who were wronged by racism and the police state, but not this guy. This guy was a lifelong drug addict. Why would you pick him of all people? Now, granted, the way that he died was very sensationalistic because it was caught on video, but, like you said, the guy was high on drugs. They gave him every possible effort. The real sad story of that whole situation is the biggest mistake that those cops made was they already had him handcuffed in the back of the squad car, and he kept saying he couldn't breathe. He kept saying he wanted to get out of the car. They should have never let him out. Then he probably would have died of asphyxiation and drug overdose in the back of the cop car, but the cops wouldn't have been blamed. But instead they let him out. Then he resists and he struggles with them, which he was already handcuffed.
Yeah.
And then it turns into a situation where everyone's out there with their camera taking video. Next thing you know, the story is, oh, he killed him, And it's the video, it's shot at an angle in a way where people are like, oh, it's obvious. It's obvious. It's obvious he murdered him. He murdered him. Well, cops have put their knee on the back. He didn't have his knee on the guy's throat. He had his knee like across the back of his shoulder blade. Cops have done that 1,000 times to thousands of different people, probably millions over the years.
Yeah.
Most of them didn't die because they weren't on drugs.
He was following, the cop Chauvin was following what they were taught in training, and
exactly. It's been in several police departments. It's been approved and it's been in the manuals.
But it should never have gotten that far. It should have never gone that far. And George Floyd could have still been alive, had he not gone that far. Had he not, with drugs into his system, made himself so, what's the word? Hyper and anxious. And just, when there's a cop who comes, and I've encountered cops before that I thought had been wrong on a traffic stop or something, but I couldn't I couldn't imagine acting the way George Floyd did. Like when a cop
Well,
comes, just tell the cop, okay, I might disagree with you on this, or but or just shut up, let the cop do his thing, then go to court.
Well, George Floyd was never going to act appropriately with the police because, for one, he was a drug addict, and you're not going to react the same when you're high on drugs. But even if he wasn't high on drugs, he was a criminal. I mean, this is what this guy did. Why did the cops show up there in the first place? Oh, because he was shoplifting from a store.
Or using a counterfeit like $20 bill.
Yeah, or something like that. So it's like, I mean, there's video of another traffic stop, if you remember, where he was basically claiming the same stuff.
Yeah,
I couldn't breathe, and trying to talk his way out of it. That's what all drug addict criminals do. They try to talk their way out of it. And have you ever noticed, and if you watch subsequent cop videos, now every suspect says that. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Because they're like, look how it worked. It turned this guy who was nothing into a hero.
Yeah.
When you say you're going to remember someone's life, let's remember, what did he do with his life? Absolutely nothing but be a victimizer.
True. And I think what people are also forgetting is, so we're normalizing this behavior, which then brings the tough part on cops, especially the cops who work in the cities, where when mobs do come in and violence do come in, they're told to just stay back. And then who does that hurt in the long run? It hurts the shop owner. It hurts, whoever owns another shop or fast food place. And then it lets the criminals go. And when you let this huge mob come in and do everything, of course other criminals are going to join and loot and steal and cause violence and set fires and destroy property. So I think we've just become too soft and said, oh, let's, we don't want any lawsuits, so let's just lay back here. Let's just sit back, stand back, watch all this happen, when it should not be happening. When I grew up, I think I was taught, if you run from a cop, of course you're going to get attacked. Of course you're going to...
Right.
I mean, what? But now we just let people run? It's not appropriate. It's not fair. And I think it's also how you're raised. Like, I was raised, you act this way in front of a cop, I'm sorry, that's your own consequence. Where others are raised, oh, you get to just act however you want, and then we'll blame the system. We'll blame the teacher. We'll blame the doctor. We'll blame the policeman. We'll blame anyone. But we won't blame ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Personal accountability and acting appropriately in public is just, it's a bygone thing. I mean, you don't have people like that anymore. And it's because the parents are crappy. The parents are a piece of crap, and then they raise little pieces of crap.
And
you know what I mean? They don't know. And then they don't know to teach their kids.
It's the parents, and it's also people like a Jesse Jackson and an Al Sharpton who claim racism on everything. And has there been racism in the past? Yes, there has. On Rosa Parks, on Martin Luther King, on other, black people back in the past. They did not have it fair. But not everything we can say is due to racism, okay? When a cop has to pull you over, they will pull you over, but now there's cops who are afraid to pull people over. There's cops who are afraid to do their job. There's cops who say, well, I only have 3 years left. I'm just going to let this ride, because they're not going to risk their pension over, pulling someone over,
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
It's sad, and cops are not allowed to do, especially cops in the cities. They're not allowed to do the job that cops were once able to do. Yeah.
And you know what's the best proof of the fact that you're right when you say we've gotten too soft and we've let things go too far out of control? That's how you get a Donald Trump elected, because a lot of people did not agree with Donald Trump on a lot of different things, but they looked at the other party and they were like, these guys are always for the criminals, not the victims. So that it was a check. Mm-hmm. It was a check against what's going on currently, and they were like, you know what? I might not like Donald Trump, but we got to bring some law and order back to this country,
That's
where you get people who probably wouldn't normally agree with Trump, and then when they had to go vote, they were like, well, I can vote for Kamala. She's going to let all the criminals out, and she doesn't give a damn about the victims. Or I can vote for Trump, and Trump is going to pummel the criminals. They were like, okay.
And
Obviously they had multiple issues, but
yeah, and that's the problem in Illinois. We have a governor who doesn't have the cops back. He's terrible. It would be great to see him replaced by a moderate Republican, not someone like Trump, but someone who can have the back of law enforcement and not treat victims so softly. And it's also Cook County and Chicago. Chicago voters are to blame also. They keep on voting for the same thing, and when you keep on voting for the same thing, don't expect there to be law and order when someone breaks into your house or breaks into your car. Don't expect you to get results and justice.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, the Trump election was a real watershed moment. I mean, that's the only way you can explain how he got all the swing states. I never thought that would happen. I wasn't even sure that Trump would win. But, I mean, I thought there's no way that he wins Wisconsin, right? Wisconsin is a very Democrat state. They almost always choose the Democrat. I mean, look, they've had subsequent elections since the presidential, and they've voted Democrat in every situation. So, I mean, what made the people of Wisconsin decide to vote for Trump? I mean, I don't know what their big issue was, but it was a real watershed moment. And I think that the crime situation really played into it. Because, I mean, look at all these crazy stories we had. People getting pushed onto railroad tracks in New York. People being set on fire in New York City. I mean, some of these stories are just mind-blowing.
Yeah. Well, time is almost up.
Yep.
It's been a good episode. We actually agree on something.
See, people of different backgrounds can agree. Steve's an independent. I don't know what, a conservative. I'm like a Tea Partyist that everybody labels a MAGA, but if you remember, Tea Party was here before MAGA. But yes, people of different backgrounds and different opinions and attitudes can agree from time to time. In fact, we usually agree more than we disagree, if you think about it.
If you take out Donald Trump, we might agree more than we disagree.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And just think, he'll be gone in 3 years?
Well, that's a long 3 years. So.
Yep.
Okay, see ya.
All right, see you later. Bye.